Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Rye, and in today's video I'm playing in the premium upcoming Tier 9 Super Heavy Cruiser Alaska here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's Hotspot and it is Domination Match Mode. It is a Tier 9 maximum battle, which means I am a top tier cruiser. If you're watching this video on the day that it's uploaded, I'd love to wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I'm hopeful that you're all having wonderful, wonderful days, and getting everything you want in your stockings and from under the tree. Now, this is going to be my review, formally, of this ship. This is the final version of the ship. She is ready for release, although when is still unknown. But what we do know is that she will cost a whopping 1 million free XP in the tech tree, for those of you who are interested in picking this ship up. Now, if you don't play US cruisers, especially US heavy cruisers, you might be dissuaded from this ship, and that's okay. At the same time, after watching this gameplay, you might be interested in this ship, so I'm hopefully going to be able to give you a review of what I like and don't like about this ship, as well as provide you some tips and tricks, if you do pick it up, that you're going to have a good time in it. Now, of course, the Alaska here, one of the hottest requested ships in World of Warships since closed beta. People have been asking on the forums, Alaska win. Right up there with Scharnhorst, but we got Scharnhorst a long time ago, comparatively speaking. So, we finally get her, the Alaska. And let me tell you what, she is one hell of a mighty beast. But just because she's one hell of a mighty beast does not mean she is without her flaws. Now, I've pushed up to the A cap point. I'm not alone. I've got several battleships back behind me there, as we can see on the minimap. I've also got a couple of destroyers up here, but as we can see, I am being detected. Now, I do have this ship exclusively and heavily spec'd as an anti-aircraft cruiser, partly because with anti-aircraft, aside from manual AA, the AA rating is 98. So with manual AA, you probably get that well above 100, and pretty much cause all sorts of problems for any carrier. And in fact, I have done this. Pop the radar on this ship. The radar is an option to take, just like the Missouri, just like the Demonis. You have to choose between your catapult spotter or catapult fighter or the radar. Now, personally, I prefer the radar. I tend to like to play forward and more aggressive. So having that, especially if there's an unfamiliar enemy smokescreen sitting in front of me, or if I think there's a destroyer looking around. Of course, just like all the US radars, the range on this is only about 9.5 kilometers, and your detection range with max concealment is unfortunately a little bit over 11 kilometers. So you've got a good 2 kilometers there where you're going to have to close in and find that. And it's not always the most accurate either when it comes to spotting certain things. Although if I opted to go with Acquisition Expert as opposed to Concealment Expert, there's a possibility that that radar range might be just a little bit better there, because we'll be able to spot it when the radar's up, probably about half a kilometer further out. I say that, I mean, technically the value's a little bit less. Now, I've backed up around the corner here because there were some angry ships out there, including a couple of cruisers and a Yamato that were shooting at me. The enemy does take the A cap point, so that's going to give them an early advantage here as they secure that cap and start gaining points at double the rate. Now, we know what was up here capping, though. It was the Edinburgh. So that's good news. There wasn't a destroyer looking around. Now, here's the enemy. Cleveland is going to turn broadside. The Alaska's 12-inch guns are particularly good at hurting cruisers. Look at that. Almost 12,000 damage done. A couple of over-penetrations, but a bunch of regular penetrations as well. No citadels there, surprisingly enough, but a lot of regular damage, and as a Tier 8 cruiser, the Cleveland does not have a heal, so that damage is really going to hurt him. Now, I still have the armor piercing loaded. I'm going to fire off at the Yamato here. Enemy team, the Yamato, takes a first blood there, kills our Hipper. I feel really bad for that Hipper at the end of this battle, and you'll see why when we look at the post-battle result screens. But in the meantime, he is dead. The enemy team takes that points advantage. We have secured the other cap point, the D cap point there, or the B cap point. So because we have 2, the enemy team has 2, we're both gaining points at the same rate, but the enemy team, with their first blood, has more points. However, look at this. We've got one of their destroyers out in the open. It's the Shimakaze, and he is being chased by our gearing and a friendly cruiser, the Henri, who is back over there as well. Henri, very, very fast ship. Speaking of fast ships, though, the Alaska here is also a surprisingly fast ship. With a speed flag outfitted, this ship will make just shy of 35 knots. So very, very fast cruiser. And with the big 12-inch guns that she's got on board her, you would be surprised how effective she is at dealing with anything that's actually faster than her. Now, you'll notice, though, I have a very, very quick reload here. I have spec'd my captain and the modules to give me this quick reload and quick change between high explosive and armor piercing. One thing that could be said with the Alaska is because of the size of the guns, generally speaking, your armor piercing isn't going to be as good against battleships unless they're broadside and close up. Plus, the armor piercing, not as much damage as the high explosive against destroyer targets. So, switching that with a rapid switch skill, gonna cut that switch time down to something like 8 seconds. Plus, with the modules installed, a 17-second reload here below the 20-second mark. Very good. You'll lose a little bit of the gun traverse, but given how quick these guns turn and given the ship's maneuverability, I think it complements really, really well to give you a nice quick traverse. Now, unfortunately, this Edinburgh has stayed in this cap far too long, and now he's caught broadside to me and broadside to the Henri. There's my Citadel. Takes a lot of health off him. The Henri is going to finish him off. Because that's an Edinburgh, though, we know it's a British light cruiser. He's probably got some torpedoes. And I don't want to eat us that torpedoes today. So, slow down, turn in, change direction here, and any second here, we're going to see exactly what I was expecting, and there they are. He was going to try and torpedo me. Luckily for me, smart enough to remember, oh yeah, British cruiser has torpedoes. Now my team is free to go ahead and cap the A cap point. But look at this, the enemy team has gone all the way up to the B cap point, and they've secured the B cap point. Well, that's okay. We are currently in the lead as we've taken out 2 of the enemy destroyers. We still have all 4 of ours. That's going to give us the destroyer advantage. You know what I always say about that. Destroyer advantage wins the games. As I push up here around the corner, the Zhao launches his catapult spotter. Now, because I'm an AA build, I immediately pop my AA defenses and shoot that plane down, and then he's going to turn broadside. Look at this kind of range. Look how much that's going to hurt. Triple Citadel, finish him off outright for a dev strike. There's my first kill in the game, and a nice 66,000 damage to go with it. So that cruiser is gone, and of course the Henri there, his response is simply, wow. Yeah, this is what this cruiser, this super heavy cruiser killer is meant to do. This is what the Navy originally designed her to do. Unfortunately, she got into the war too late to actually do that, as by that point, all of the Japanese heavy cruisers that she should have been fighting were otherwise sunk or permanently moored in port because they wouldn't let them out. So I still have the armor piercing loaded. This is an early game in my experience with this ship, but we'll see here, it's a great example. You can see that there's a good amount of damage there, about 5,000. That's pretty typical US cruiser numbers. Not going to be the battleship numbers that you're going to expect. So do bear that in mind. You can use the armor piercing, but it's just not going to be as effective as you might otherwise anticipate. Enemy team manages to pull the scores back just a little bit here. They've killed 2 of our destroyers, so now the destroyer advantage is equalized, but we still have a massive ship's advantage. And of course, we've got the Alaska. It's basically a battleship, but it's got cruiser speed and a cruiser icon, cruiser reload, and cruiser accuracy. So this ship has very much so the ability. My team has managed to go back up, and we are securing the B cap point. That's going to be uncontested back up there with the Cleveland. And we're down here at the C cap point to secure the C cap point here for our team. So that's going to leave the enemy team no caps at all. But there are still 2 enemy destroyers in play here, and we're not entirely sure where they are. They haven't popped up on the map. We don't know where they could be. However, we do know that they've got 2 battleships back over there, a Missouri and a Kurfürst, and the Kurfürst is pretty low health. He is engaging 2 of our ships back over there, a Worcester and a Montana. So between the 2 of them, they should be able to burn him down pretty effectively. That's when the enemy pushes in and starts capturing D. Now, we have a destroyer headed over to the D cap point, but there is an enemy Seattle back over there, and we probably suspect, based on that smoke screen, that there's a destroyer over there as well. And it could be any number of destroyers, and given that our Harugumo does not have a lot of health, if the enemy destroyer manages to spot the Harugumo and the Seattle is able to get his guns to bear, our Harugumo could be in a very, very tight spot. And there it is. It's an enemy kid, full health on top of that, and he's got a heal. Now, I've still got the armor piercing loaded. I opted not to switch over to the high explosive here because I want that Seattle. And he's done exactly what I expected him to. He's come out from behind that island. He's broadside on to me. So, shots out there. Miss with the rear turrets, but here are the front turrets. They are going to land home, and there is another double citadel and another kill. My second in the game. Now, I can switch over to the high explosive. But I'm waiting for my guns to reload before I do it. However, because the Harugumo's got him pretty well dead to rights, I opt to keep the armor piercing, miss most of my shots on the kid anyway, and I'm just going to keep my armor piercing to attack the Missouri. Our friendly Henri has gone back to the A cap point, has found the last remaining enemy destroyer, the Shimakaze, and managed to kill him. Additionally, the Henri took a lot of damage doing it, but he did survive. Now, this is where I'm going to start experimenting with how good this armor piercing is, because this Missouri is kind of angled, but he's still not that angled. He's taking a lot of fire. We've got a Worcester back over there. We've got a Cleveland back over there. We still have a Montana back over here as well. This Missouri, in all fairness, should be dead to rights. You'll notice, though, one of the things that these shells have is they have a particularly long and almost sluggish flight time coming out there. So you do have to tend to give this cruiser a little bit more lead than you might be used to with US battleships. But I would say if you play a lot of US destroyers, just compensate that way. Think US destroyer lead times. Give it a lot of lead out there. Of course, the problem is because of these slow shells, these slow flight times, it does leave smaller ships, like those cruisers that these guns are particularly good at murdering, opportunities to change course and speed and throw your aim off completely. Now, I'm still using the high explosive here. I'm going to try and continue to set more fires. These 12-inch guns do a reasonable job of setting fires. There's another fire there. Now, from here, I could have switched over to the armor piercing. The Missouri is going to give me broadsided. These kinds of ranges, that broadside would technically grant me a citadel, or it should, at the very least, get me a bunch of penetrations. With how much health he has left, not a lot there. Do connect, not enough damage to kill him, so no extra kills for me. 105,000 damage done in that game. Only 2 kills, 6 citadels, though. 2 base capture assists and 1 base defender ribbon. Overall, I really, really like this ship. I'm not a big fan of the US cruiser line, heavy or light, but this ship I really, really like, and I've now set it as one of my primaries, so you'll be seeing me play this a lot more often. Top of the team for XP earned at almost 2,300 base XP there, just shy 2294. Now, if you go all the way down to the bottom there, you see the Hipper, who died first. I feel bad for him, because other than him, everybody else on the team got at least 1,000 base XP, and more importantly, that Hipper also got the lowest base XP in the match. Total, even the losing team had a higher base XP on the bottom end. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. Again, I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas, have a happy holiday, and a Happy New Year. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to have me take a look at, or possibly see featured on my channel with my wonderful voice, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, albeit intermittently, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.